Late 19th century, Grace Burnham is a doctor who specializes in psychological problems, little understood at the time. Interested in the story of an unusual boy named Martin, she travels to his family's plantation only to discover that the town seems to be under some sort of curse. Crops and cattle are dying, and the villagers in the neighborhood are convinced that Martin is the cause of these woes. The boy's father, Nicholas, himself looks askew at his son, but Grace, convinced that all this is nothing more than a series of sad coincidences, begins to look for an approach to Martin, who really behaves strangely. There are many movies that have chosen as their key theme the opposition between science and religion, and In the Fire is not original in this respect. We have a situation that can be interpreted in two ways. Martin may be a demon, who tries to destroy everyone who gets in his way, or maybe he's just a sociopathic autist with an emotional spectrum disorder, and the drought, pestilence, and all sorts of troubles like horses going crazy around him is nothing more than a coincidence. The authors of the movie sharpen this conflict by moving the story back to a century and a half ago, in times when religion occupied a much more important place in people's lives, and psychology as a full-fledged science was in its infancy. Also In the Fire has a feminist storyline about Grace, who at first people don't take seriously because of her gender. There is an attempt to dig into the relationship between fathers and sons, and there is a poorly argued romantic line between Grace and Nicholas, which even Grace herself does not consider as such. According to her, it is just loneliness, caused by the fact that Nicholas's wife died not so long ago. It would seem that the movie has so many potentially interesting topics, what could possibly go wrong? The answer is paradoxically simple: the fact that it's all being offered to us in a horror movie. What is a horror movie? It's a story that scares, unnerves, keeps you in suspense. But there is none of this in the Fire. The authors either do not dare or do not know what and how to scare their viewers, without giving away until the finale an unambiguous answer to the main question of the movie, whether there really lives something evil in Martin. There is no visceral atmosphere of the witch here. In this respect the movie is more like a classic western, but, again, without the usual for this genre shootouts and chases. Martin behaves like an exact copy of Damien from Omen, but Grace persistently says that he just needs some understanding, and gradually she really breaks through his protective shell, but then comes the finale, which pushes the story off the cliff. We won't spoil it, but if you remember after the end of the movie its key events, there will be a lot of questions about Martin's behavior and, especially, about the movie morale. It's not very clear what conclusion from all this the authors offer us to draw. To be fair, In the Fire doesn't look so bad. Eduardo Noriega is extremely textured in the role of a noble cowboy. Amber Heard in some places overplays, but in general quite convincingly portrays a steadfast woman, for whom the most important thing is to prove to herself that she is worth something. Certain scenes and thoughts are definitely curious and hooking. For example, one of the two priests in the movie reconciles with Grace's scientific approach, accepting her as a messenger of God, whose ways, as we know, are inscrutable. The filmmakers have also found some very picturesque locations, which gives the movie a good old-fashioned, sprawling monumentality. But if a horror movie doesn't work in its core genre, does it really matter all that much?